Okay, so we are back with Nick Lang talking season 1 of Nightmare Time and the upcoming season 2. So this is part 2 of that interview that I posted part 1 of a while back. So we are back and we're going to be discussing spoilers in this interview. So you haven't seen season 1 of Nightmare Time, the whole thing, 3 episodes, 6 stories. This is your warning. Like, it's just spoiler, spoiler, spoiler.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I'll probably put spoiler in the title of this video too, just so everyone's like perfectly clear. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have the 6 different stories, and what I and a lot of others noticed with these stories is that the first one is on the more lighthearted side and funny, and then the second one is dark. And it's kind of like the guy who didn't like musical and then Black Friday, like you were saying in
Yeah.
part 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what would you say, was that intentional, and how did you decide to pair which stories went with each other?
Right. So yes, it definitely is intentional to when we're doing like a Nightmare Time episode to start out with a more lighthearted story and then close out with a more intense or dark or sad one or something like that. Some of them aren't sad.
I feel like the
They
only
can
really,
be
really
happy
sad
but
one was Time
intense.
Bastard. Like the other ones at least like kind of had happy endings. And like Time Bastard was just like the whole thing was like,
Yeah, but it
wow,
was kind of
man.
funny
Yeah.
though, right? That is kind of
Yeah, it was
funny.
funny. I mean, like the homeless
Um,
man thing. I don't know if that should have been that funny to us, but like I mean it was funny to me.
yeah,
So
we
the
when we
reveal.
wrote it, we said people will like this.
Yeah.
And yeah, we will. It was actually a process of trying to figure out what was going to get paired with what. We wrote more than just those stories. Like there are stories that were written that we didn't read, things that we said, let's throw the story away, things that we said, let's hold on to this story for maybe a few season of Nightmare Time. So there were more because originally when we wrote it, we were considering the scripts. Just so you know, are like 30 pages. They're 30 pages in screenplay format. So if it were screenplay, that would be 30 minutes of content. It's a rough estimate, but it's kind of around 1 minute per page. So we wrote 30-page scripts going like, okay, these are 30-minute scripts, and originally the intention was to read 3 stories per episode. So we wrote them actually in groups of 3. But then it became, we started reading them, testing it out, and Matt and I would read it to Rusty, who's Matt's girlfriend partner, and we said 3 stories is too long because we have to read all of like the description that you wouldn't read if you were watching something. It's making these twice as long.
And the
So
songs too. I mean, they're not that
and
long,
their
but like yeah.
songs. Yeah, so we were like, okay, 2 stories is going to be the sweet spot because some of the stories were so silly that we were like, this is not this is good for like oh, I had a fun time, but it's not really like an experience where you leave it going like I feel emotionally fulfilled after that. So we were like, okay, let's pair stories together so that you get maybe a sillier story and then maybe a story that has a little more weight to it. Um, and we wrote them in like chunks of 3, and things would get moved around, and we would say, okay, we have to cut this element and things like that. Like the one that stayed together the most was our second episode. It has Forever and Always and Time Bastard in it. They intersect, and there was actually a third story that took place that was written to be the middle story in between those 2 stories, where the wedding was featured again in the middle story. So
Ooh.
there were actually 3 stories, and then when we cut it down to 2 stories, we got rid of that middle one, and we were like, we will save the middle one for the future, and we'll just have to cut out the wedding. But so it's
So the middle one, is that one still on the docket then?
mm-hmm.
Is that going to be
Yeah,
season 2?
yeah, that'll be in the second
Yay!
season. Yeah, yeah.
There we
So
go. We got a reveal. Can you say what the title is?
No,
Can you see the
no,
title of
no.
any of
What
them? I know I'm pushing too hard. I don't know. People want
you're
stuff. People are
pushing?
gonna expect stuff from interviews.
Yeah, we'll do that
People
at some point
expect tea. I don't
because
know.
we don't even know when it's gonna happen. It's
Right.
like
But
it's
it is
not.
season two. So it's one of the 7 stories last episode, or not episode, last part of this interview. If you didn't watch or listen to that, um, Nick has confirmed 7 stories, Nightmare Time season two,
I
4 episodes.
said maybe,
Okay,
maybe.
sorry.
That's
I
what
thought
we're
you
leaning
officially confirmed
towards.
that part. Okay. Maybe 7 stories, maybe
Yeah,
4 episodes, maybe finale is one big story.
yeah. hmm Um,
Okay, yes.
I'll say we'll revisit some characters and we'll meet
Yeah.
some new characters and things like that. So,
Speaking of revisiting characters and new characters, so I have one question for each of those right now.
right.
Is the climbing up a tree Becky Barnes thing going to come up? Because at all,
Becky
do you have
Barnes
plans for
climbed a
that?
tree.
Yes, do you have
Becky
plans for
Barnes
that in
climbed a
whether it be
tree.
season two or something else or a short film? I
It's,
mean, yeah,
it's a thing
it's
that
gotta
Becky
have.
did
We
one
gotta
time.
know. We gotta know what
She
happened when she climbed the tree. Okay, I mean,
she climbed a tree once when she was a little girl. She climbed a tree, and she didn't come down for 2 days.
yeah, we want to know why.
It started as a joke. It started as a joke where when we were doing Black Friday, we thought that Barnes was fun to say in an Irish accent with Becky Barnes. And so Becky, we I don't know how we came up with it, but we came up with the scenario that Becky as a small Irish girl climbed up a tree and her mother was in like, you come down from that tree, Becky Barnes, and she'd say, you're gonna be in real trouble when you come down from that tree, Becky Barnes, and then Becky'd go, don't you mean if I come down? And she was planning to stay up in the tree forever. She was sick of the world. She's like, I'm gonna be up in a tree. So that's how it started, and then we were like, okay, well, let's just incorporate it into the lore that Becky Barnes climbed a tree, and
Okay,
because we love the character of Becky, so we
yeah.
like to imagine her as a young person climbing a tree and just saying, "I'm gonna stay here," and then we'll dive into it later.
That's good. In terms of new characters, I want to, and a lot of other people I know want to learn more about Ziggs. This was a
Ziggs,
character they were mentioned in Zags or Ziggs.
Ziggs, yeah,
Ziggs, yeah, I was right. Okay, mentioned in Watcher World. That
Watcher
was the
World,
one. Yeah.
yeah,
So they go to school with Bill and Alice, not Bill and Alice, Deb and Alice, I believe, or at
hmm
least they're the same age as them, and they were at a party where Deb was
yeah,
at, or Ziggs was hosting the party. I'm not sure it was mentioned, but you have said, I believe, that we are going to meet Ziggs. Is that happening
yeah.
in season two? I'm sorry, I don't know.
If all goes according to plan, yeah.
Yay!
Yeah, one of the stories that, again, a story we were considering reading, um, in the first round, has Ziggs as a main character. So,
Was that the wedding one or something else?
it's something else.
Okay.
It's something else. So yeah, Ziggs, I think is a super funny, fun character. So I'm
Um,
excited to get Ziggs in there.
And you've said before, just to reiterate, I guess, because I know people are going to ask because they might not have listened to. I think it was the talkback.
hmm
So Ziggs is non-binary, so you'd be hiring a non-binary actor to play them
Yeah.
in
hmm
this thing, okay, or the
Yeah.
season, or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
hmm
when casting this person, are you trying to get some? I'm not saying this is a casting call. I'm not. This is not. I can't believe I had to make another disclaimer. This isn't encouraging people to send in your audition tapes, but um, for yeah, for Ziggs, like, are you trying to get someone who's like in the LA area or whatever who would be able to be in shows in the future? Like, is Ziggs in like Nerdy Prudes Must Die or something, or would we be seeing them in
Z-
another kind of thing, or is it
uh,
just, were
the
they made up
ca-
for Nightmare Time and like kind of developed from there?
Ziggs was made up for Nightmare Time and is developing. Again, Nerdy Prudes is always changing.
Okay.
But Nerdy Prudes, I can say, is about the high school characters of Hatchetfield. Um, there have been certain characters that have been described as nerdy prudes. There's one like Grace Chastity, things like that,
Oh,
and
a lot of people want to know if Grace Chastity is going to be in Nerdy Prudes. Like I've been hearing that since the name of the show was dropped. So,
yeah, that's why we put her name in there. In the first show because
and
we're
Hot
like,
Chocolate Boy, I'm guessing because I believe you have you
hey,
said he's
hey,
the
hey,
lead.
hey, hey,
Have you
hey, hey.
said have you said
Um,
that?
no, I haven't said that.
I'm getting really pushy in this part. I'm
He
sorry.
yeah, you're pushing. But no, he is also a character, yes, that
Okay,
will
so
come into the story at some point. When we wrote Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, we knew that the Hot Chocolate Boy was a character of deeper significance that we were going to get to. We actually wrote the Hot Chocolate Boy. This is just a little piece of trivia. In the script, he is obnoxious teen, is what he is
ooh,
in the script. And then in Black Friday, we wrote him into the script again, where there's a part where Robert's character Ethan goes to a movie theater and talks
oh,
to a movie theater kid, and originally the movie theater kid was the obnoxious teen,
oh, but
was supposed to be
yeah,
that character, but then we cast Robert as
yeah.
Ethan, so we said it can't be the same guy.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, rumor has it that with the Santa Claus going to high school thing, you originally were gonna, there was talk or whatever of casting
Of
Darren as in Darren Criss
Darren,
as
yeah,
Santa. What
yeah.
was that about? Like, how would that have gone? Would it have been like an actual movie filmed? Like, this mystery has to be solved. Like, this has been
um,
like discussed so much. I want to know. I got to get this out there to people.
Originally, Santa Claus is Going to High School was just going to be an audio joke that you were going to
Oh,
just hear what was going on the screen as Tom and Becky were sitting in the theater watching the movie.
yeah.
And when this was originally we were thinking, okay, should we try to do the show? When you're doing one of these shows, you're always splitting up where the act break is, and you go, where's the act break going to be? And in a
Hmm.
previous version of the show, the act break happened at a different point, so we didn't have the song there. We didn't have a song from Santa Claus is Going to High School originally. And so it was just going to be they're watching a movie and you hear the movie, and Darren going to cameo as the voice of Santa
Oh,
because again the idea of Santa Claus is Going to High School, which was really the sequel to the Working Boys part, we were like, this is also an old joke that we had where we were, again, trying to come up with the worst movie we could possibly think of. And we said it was a movie called Santa Claus is Going to High School starring Darren Criss as Santa Claus. And so we were like, Darren's going to cameo as himself playing Santa in the thing,
wow. So you would have
but
said played by Darren Criss, like in the meta part in the show, like as a meta
it
joke?
was just a gag. Yeah, we wouldn't have actually said that it was played by Darren Criss. It's just part of our joke.
Oh,
Is we were like, imagine a movie where Darren is playing Santa Claus and he's in high school and it's a bad Christmas movie. But then,
that's good.
we
That's
ended
funny.
up putting the act break where it
Oh,
ended up being,
yeah.
and we kind of said, and Jeff was like, they gotta sing a song. We gotta do a Santa Claus is Going to High School song. So then we said, okay. So Darren could not be in the show, obviously. So he's too busy.
Yeah.
He's too big and busy. So we're like, okay, Darren can't be Santa.
So
Right.
Jeff has been like he's did the music for Trail to Oregon, I remember, and now he's doing all the music for Hatchetfield shows. Is that a
Mhm.
deliberate decision to keep it like kind of in the same vein as each other with the music, or would you be considering having other people come in and do the music for, or is it just he's available? I mean, that sounds fine.
Well,
Not that he's not great, he's awesome. I'm just like wondering because I know
yeah,
you've had some like different people do different shows in the past. Is it like based on style?
yeah.
Basically, why? That's my question. It's not like
Why?
it just. I
Why,
don't want to
Jeff?
go long-winded question.
Um,
Why? No, I'm
well,
getting silly now.
we have we love working with Jeff. Jeff is great, and I think he gets better and better. And he's like, it's really fun to see him grow as an artist, grow as a person, all this stuff. I really like Jeff a lot, and we have a good working relationship with him. And when we did the guy who didn't like musicals, you might notice it's a lot of the same team as the Trail to Oregon.
It's almost the same whole cast
It's
too.
almost the exact same cast because Trail to Oregon, just with that one, everybody had a really good time doing that one. Like, that is the one that we then took to New York later. That's like the
Yes, that
only
was
show that we've
awesome.
ever like done again because everybody had a good time working on it.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
yeah,
It's
and
awesome.
that show, like, even when we started rehearsals for that show, like, not all the songs were done
I know there
100%.
was a lot of changes with Trail to Oregon, like right up to like when it was happening. Like I know there's been talk about that and like yeah, but like a lot I know
Yeah.
a lot changed and I know like
Yeah.
because yeah.
There have been many different versions. It's a
Oh yeah.
super old idea. Like
Yeah.
Jeff's been, again, that's a thing that he was working on in college when he was, just a young dumb idiot kid. And so like there are all these different songs that never would go in the show, and you go like there, so the show has changed a lot, but when it came time to actually do that show, we actually did that during our summer season when we did
Yeah, the
Annie
first one.
and
Yeah.
Trail to Oregon. And Trail to Oregon was the show. This is a little behind the scenes thing. People didn't want to be in that one because
What?
because that one
Why
wasn't
wouldn't it
done.
be?
Because
Oh,
that
okay.
one wasn't done 100%. So people were like, "Oh, well, Annie is the clearly the one that is the favorite." Because, and like, we ask certain people to like be in both of them, and
Oh,
everyone
you
was like,
really? Oh yeah,
yeah.
who was that? Because I feel like there was a thing where someone's name was on both cast lists or whatever. Or it was like a
It's
thing
like
based
it
on who was
was
going to like
like
what conventions and all.
I,
We were like
I
deducing it. Like, is this person in
yeah.
both shows? It was like, was it Joe
I
Walker? I think it might have been
I
Joe Walker. I don't
maybe it
know.
was Joe Walker, I don't remember,
He
but
has the range, but yeah.
it eventually became that, everybody said, "You know what? No, I'm just going to be in the one." And people wanted to be in Annie. And we did like a read through day where we read through both the shows, and we did Trail to Oregon, and like not all the songs were done, and like parts of the script were moving around. It was very in flux, and everyone was like, "This one's gonna be bad." And then
I mean,
we read Annie, and we were like, "Oh, it's great. Everyone's gonna love this one." But then like the StarKid fan
yeah,
base
I
really liked Trail to Oregon, not so much Annie.
they
And
like Annie now. Like Annie gets so much praise now. It's awesome. Like everyone like
that's
stands
great.
it now, and like it's not the black sheep anymore. Like, but
Good.
so that's
Good,
great.
good. Yeah, with those parodies, we were always like a few years ahead. We we
You
only
were,
we only
you
really
were
hit on like
Potter.
the Potter one is
And
when
kind
the
of Twisted
timing.
because Disney's always popular.
Disney's always popular, but right after we did the like
Wait, was this
Twisted
oh
came.
my gosh, it was the same weekend as Frozen, wasn't it?
Yes. Twisted came out, like, the album came out the same week that Frozen came out. And so we were like talking, like, in Twisted, it's talking about like the third Disney golden age and all this stuff, like bringing about another golden age.
You
And
prophesized it.
our hypothesis was go back to making hand-drawn 2D
Oh yeah,
animated
that's right.
things. And then it turned out that we were wrong. It's
It's
like
not
all
about
the
2D, it's about like the story and like if it's good animation, whether it's 2D or
just
3D. But
make
yeah,
them
like it felt
just
like the 2D animated 90s ones, a lot of the
yeah.
ones the past decade. So I mean, you
Yeah.
weren't entirely wrong. Like you did a pretty
Yeah.
good job predicting. And then like you did Annie like a year before Force Awakens.
We did, yes, we did Annie before everybody got super back into Star Wars, because now Star Wars is like enormous.
People
It's
are
like
fatigued of it, I think, to a degree, but they like Mandalorian, so I don't know. But I think they're fatigued of
people
Skywalker. So
but the Mandalorian is now what Star Wars is. Like, people love
yes.
the Mandalorian. Baby Yoda is the biggest
Yes,
thing in the
Grogu.
world. He's like the most popular Star Wars character that there is. You go into any, like, you go
It's funny
anywhere, there's the merchandise everywhere
with
for good reason.
Batman. It wasn't DC, but this was like the same year as Avengers, and you guys did it like right beforehand. And then
Yeah,
like
Avengers. I think it came out the same year as the last
Harry
The
Potter, no, it
last
didn't.
Batman? No,
Batman, yes.
the last Chris Nolan
Dark Knight.
Batman.
Yeah, it was before Dark. It was before Dark Knight Rises. It was like Iron Man came out right before Dark Knight, and Avengers came out right before Dark Knight Rises. I'm sorry, I thought you were going to say Harry Potter for some reason, but
No.
that one came out the year before the last Harry Potter came out, and then it
Yeah,
was Avengers the next year.
so we kind of we by the time Avengers was like so huge, we'd already done our superhero thing. So
Yeah.
all of those parody ones that we did, it's like they're as much they're like about the franchise that they are parodying. So you go
Yes, that's
like,
what I love about them because it's not just like here's a robot chicken style joke or whatever for 2 hours. It's
yeah,
like this is like it's meta, and I really like that it's meta and like it gets into it. Like in Annie,
yeah,
when they got Obi-Wan, they're sitting criticizing the prequels, and Batman talking about like superheroes, what makes
yeah,
superheroes great, and like the
yeah,
American Way song, where it's like three different versions of like American mindset. Like you connect it to kind of like even like politics, like I just mentioned.
yeah.
Maybe not even always that deep, but like
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, because that was our philosophy with doing those ones, is that we were like, okay, we need to have something to say about this. And when we did the Harry Potter ones, we were like, Harry Potter was it was more of a lens that you use to like talk about your childhood, because it was
yes, that's what's so
around
good.
yeah, it was like around the time that a lot of us had were graduating from college. And so everyone was feeling very nostalgic for childhood and like it was ending. So it was like that's the song Going Back to Hogwarts was actually a song that Darren was going to write outside of it being a Harry Potter song.
Yeah,
Darren was had an idea for this song called Going Back to Hogwarts that was just using Hogwarts as like an allegory for your
right,
childhood. And
right. I feel like
so
a lot of wizard rockers kind of do that and did that. When I
there you
listen to
go.
wizard rock, it's like, yeah, this is like very about growing up and stuff, and like,
Yeah,
you
so
know,
we like super did that in our third Harry Potter show, like bangs it over the head like
yes, it
crazy
does.
that
It
it's just
does.
about the franchise and like people being sick of the franchise and all that
And
stuff, and
like,
people
yes,
are
it's
sick of
ending. It's your
Harry.
childhood. It's like our
Yeah.
childhood's ending. It's like, yes, this is the end.
Yeah.
It makes
And
it very
then
clear right from the jump.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when we did Batman, we were like we wanted to talk a little bit about how people view the story, because like it's a lot to do with Batman and Robin and how Batman at the time was they were doing the Chris Nolan ones, and
Right.
I would say even to this day they really love to make him dark and gritty, and they
Yeah,
love to go like we're
they do.
super pushing Batman into a dark place, and Batman hasn't always been like that, like
No, like the
some
60s TV show and a lot
60s
of the
show,
comics.
or like
They're silly.
you go like at least even if it's like my favorite Batman is the animated series Batman.
Same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great, and you go that is for kids, you know. It's like
Yeah. But it doesn't like talk down to them. It's just like is what
right,
it is. It's like it's a
exactly,
story, here it is. We're not trying to make it dark or light. We're just trying to tell the story and do the best decisions. It's not like here's an
exactly,
image, right? And then like
right.
trying to fit the story to the image is fitting the image to the story.
Yeah.
Sorry, I took your answer. That's not good to do it.
No, no, that's okay.
Sorry. I wanted to get back to Nightmare Time because I did want to
Oh,
get back
okay.
to that because I did
Sorry.
promise people some spoiler talk. So I forgot. I feel so bad. I forgot this character's name because it's been 2 months since I saw this. But I love this character so much. It's the '80s lady from Witch in the Web.
Yeah, yeah,
Miss Holloway. Miss
Miss
Holloway.
Holloway. Yeah.
That just got back in my head. So are we gonna ever find out like is the '80s style with her like she does like she was doing the '80s workout and then she was like we go back in
There
time and we see like people from all the decades and centuries including the '80s when we go back into the forest and I'm glad I don't have to explain it because this is a spoiler
uh-huh.
review, people have seen it.
Yeah.
So is that connected at all, and if so are we going to be able to explore why she's behaving the way she does like stuck in that decade, or is that just a quirk of hers? I mean, I like it. It's
Yeah,
cool.
there's a reason. There's a reason.
I think that's
Miss Holloway's great. Yeah, because you go like, who is Miss Holloway? You don't really know who she is in the story. She's a
right.
mysterious character. You know that she has this thing called the Black Book, which has a lot of information in it about characters like Wiggly and all of these things, and you go, where did she get this book? Why does she have it? Who is she? How does she have these abilities? Why is she so obsessed with the 80s? What's the thing with her?
Right.
And we'll get around to it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, like I don't know. That character was so cool. I was like, whoa, it was neat.
Miss Holloway is
Yeah.
one of my faves.
Yeah, she's like, I don't know. She's just so cool. I just loved it. And Kim did a great job playing her.
Yeah.
I also want to know, are we going to see Jane again? Because like I know a lot of people were too. I was so hyped to see Jane and finally get to
Right.
meet her, and she did not disappoint. Like she was amazing. Like, are we going to find out about like more about like why she is the way she is? Is there like a story to that, or is she just like, is it because she died and she is bitter about being dead? She's behaving that way in Jane Zakar.
Yeah. Well, you go Hatchetfield, it's like there are different versions of
Yeah,
things, It's like we've now seen characters die, but they're back, and it's like certain events never happened and things like that. So, we're gonna delve a little bit more into exactly why that is. The most information about it thus far is in Witch in the Web. And so
what about Time
Jane,
Bastard too? Is Time Bastard a clue to it? Because I
Time
really feel like it is.
Time
A lot of people do.
Bastard, there's a thing, a trick in Time Bastard that is something that people on the internet have picked up on, because there's a reason why in all of these different versions of Hatchetfield, there's always this Ted that is a homeless man person.
Right.
So it's you go like he's always there, and there's a reason why he's always there, even though he's from one specific place.
So how
So
does it? Yeah, go ahead.
no, you go for it.
How does 8 Man work with that? Was he the homeless man in before he was Ted and 8 Man, or was that like taking place? But like that one
Well,
just so confusing to me. With compared to the rest of them, like it makes sense of how those would come to be, but it's just like 8 Man is there, and I'm like I like it, but I'm like I don't really understand how it connects.
okay.
Does it connect? Is
So
it just a fun one? I don't know.
so essentially, we've now seen we've seen all of these stories. We've seen Guy, we've seen Black Friday, we've seen all the Nightmare Time episodes. So all of them, you will see the same characters doing stuff, and they die in different ways, things like that. So it's kind of like they're like different realities.
Yeah,
So
but you said
you
homeless man isn't all of them.
right, but there are always two Teds,
Oh
right?
yeah, that's right. I'm
Because
sorry. I haven't seen this episode in 2 months. I'm sorry, everybody who's like
that
yelling at
that
me while listening to this,
that's
typing in the
okay,
comments.
because Ted is Ted, but Ted is an older version of Ted is also Homeless Man, because Homeless Man is from a certain time in Ted's life, and then he goes back in time. He gets stuck in 2004, and then
Right.
he goes on to be the Homeless Man. So there's always two Teds.
Now I'm thinking about that. Now I'm sad again. It's okay. So yeah, so there's two Teds. That makes sense. So yeah, that makes sense because I don't know why I thought the same one was the homeless man. Yeah, sorry, I haven't seen that one in a while.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah. So Paul and Emma, that
Yeah,
one also seemed a little bit like, how does this relate to anything? Like, there's robots now, and I mean, it relates to this the Time Bastard episode, but like.
right.
Is it like
Well,
why is it is there a reason why it's them? Is everyone in the world or just Hatchetfield being made up like that? Is it like something about them? Is it just because I know it's another time travel thing, I think, right? I haven't seen this episode in
there,
2 months.
there, yeah, there is some time travel in Forever and Always,
Yes.
where the robot Emma is from the future. She's back from the future, essentially like the Terminator. She's a
Okay.
super advanced thing. She's from around the time that Ted goes to. Remember how Ted
Yeah.
in Time Bastard goes to the future, and he sees them planning the
Yeah.
Emma robot, and then he
Yeah.
goes back in time, and then she is also back in time, and he sees her and goes like, that's that robot, and then she ends
But
up
that future doesn't happen in every timeline, I would assume, because some of them the world
it
ends.
it exactly right.
So season 2, Nightmare Time, the way it might be structured, the way you were saying it could hypothetically be structured. Would it be like the season 1 where it's like one funny one serious one, except for the big long one?
Yeah, that's probably how we'll do it. It's
Yeah.
more of like actually,
Ooh,
it
are they all
depends.
serious? Or are they all
No,
funny? I don't know.
no. There's a variety.
Or
There's a
would you,
variety.
or you do ones like based on how they're paired together in the same universe? Like,
I
because
will
really, like
in
everything in the episodes already could be in the same universe. Like Watch Our World could be the same one as
Watcher
Ape
World
Man.
could be the same as Ape Man, but Ape Man can't be the same as the
Guy
other
who didn't like
one,
musicals.
as Guy or episode 2, which is Time Bastard and all
No.
that. It can't because Ted
Right.
dies in Ape Man.
Right.
So the but in season 2, just watch out for it because we're kind of writing it to where all of them could possibly be in the same one. That just means that things intersect, that characters will be in one episode and then not in other episodes.
Yeah, I'd assume it's like the first one. And then is the last one kind of a crossover, maybe?
The last story, no. It's dealing with characters that we all know and we all like
Right.
them, but it's just
Yay.
we just came up with this idea for this last story, and we're like, this one is too long to be a 30-page script. It'll be somewhere between 30 and 60 pages, and it will be we were like, this, it was not our intention to make it the last episode at first, but then we made it up and we're like, this one's so cool, this one will be the last one
Okay.
of this round of them.
Okay. Season 2. So going forward in Hatchetfield in general, we've started to get to know, I forgot what they're called. I'm calling them the dolls, the 5 dolls, the 5
Yeah.
senses dolls.
Mhm.
So we have Wiggly, Tinky, Pokey, Nibbly, and
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
the
remember the
only
last one.
the names that we've said thus far are Wiggly. Well, they even say they're
Blinky. Of course, I love
there's
Blinky. Blinky might be my
there's
favorite. I
yeah,
forgot his name.
yeah. There's Blinky. Where are they?
We're
They're
gonna
they're
see them.
they're
I know.
they're right over there.
Oh, there they are. I see
There they are.
Blinky. Yeah, there they are.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
Pokey.
So
I'm sorry. People have like really jumped on those names. Like they've jumped on
right.
Pokey and Nibbly. I think the ones you didn't say yet, right?
Pokey and Nibbly are ones that we haven't said. But
Our names you
people
haven't said.
people have used some context clues of things, but
There's
they
like,
are
yeah.
they're Nibble and Effin. They're, what are their names?
Nibble and Effin?
Nibble and Effin, Blickletep, Tanoi Caraxis,
Right.
Pacotho,
Pacotho.
and Wigog.
That was said on the radio thing or the playback tape thing in Jane Zakar, right? That's them. Okay, so that is them.
Yeah.
Everyone pretty much assumed that. Like, I didn't even pick up on that, but like some people did. I guess it was like I caught up in something else with that episode. But yeah, so that is them. So they're more than just like obviously cute little dolls. Like, I mean, the only one who's really well, Blinky and Wiggly are the only ones who are technically dolls. Like Tinky's just an alien, right? Like I don't really understand what Tinky was supposed to be.
He's some kind of weird creature.
He was just there. I'm like, oh, it's a thing.
We just made doll versions of all of them. And they actually do all appear as dolls in The Witch in the Web.
Yes, they do.
Because there's like a vision that there's a dream that Hannah is having, and a fake Lex pulls out all the dolls.
The dolls and the puppy. I wish Nemo could have been a cameo in that episode.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Nemo. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's Nemo. There's the headcanon.
Puppy.
The fake dog. Yes, that was so funny.
They say, I'm gonna call you Spot, and yeah, Nemo makes an appearance in several.
I don't know. I just headcanon that, I guess.
Yeah.
Because Nemo's so cute. So we also have so we have those. I don't know. So we have sort of like, is it safe to assume that the Pocolatello, I don't know what the heck it's called, the blue, the Poco what?
The blue one.
The blue
Pocotho.
one's gonna show up. The blue one kind of showed up in Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, except for not really. It wasn't a doll.
Right,
And
right, right.
and is it safe to assume that the Nibbler thing is gonna show up
Nibbly.
maybe in Nibbly? Nerdy Prudes Must
In Nerdy
Die?
Prudes. No.
It's
No,
not?
no, no,
Is
I
it
don't.
not, or is it not safe to assume?
I wouldn't assume anything.
Okay.
Yeah,
People are
Nibbly.
assuming it. People are like, yeah, this is what's happening in Nerdy Prudes Must Die. He's
Yeah,
showing up. He's
yeah,
coming.
yeah.
I'm like,
People have assumed that. Yeah, but no.
good to diffuse that.
I
So
don't know. I don't know. You know, again, Nerdy Prudes is kind of in flux right now. But
yeah,
Nibble and Effin is
Glenn Effin.
he again, you know, Matt and I are always
Yeah.
and not everything that we write gets talked about. But Nibley is heavily featured in something that we've already written that is not Nerdy Prudes.
Is it Working Boys? Ooh, it might be Working Boys, or it might be season 2.
But they're all kind of these creatures from this place called the Black and White that
Right.
is something that we talked about in Black Friday, and they
Yeah.
say that the ruler of the Black and White is Wiggly. So
So, but
there you
like,
have.
so Wiggly's the ruler of all of them then, or would they all rule a different one? Or because like there's already the senses theory, the 5 senses. Wiggly is touch. Pinky is smell, which I don't even know how that happened, but I
I
think people are
I
really trying to push
I
that.
I don't
Nibbly's
know
the
if
food
people should do
taste.
that. I don't know if people should really put too
Blinky
much
is
weight.
eyes. And Pokey is ears because music. Guy didn't like musical because everyone assumes it comes from that. So
Sure, if people like that kind of thing, then
people
yeah,
read
go
into
for it.
everything. People are
Yeah.
really like theorizing prudes based on the sense of taste. Like they're guessing what's gonna happen next.
Yeah, yeah.
Like like there are all these theories. It's like whoa. It's like
Yeah,
the Tinky
I'll
comparison even is like odd at best. It doesn't really
yeah,
to fit anything.
Tinky, they all actually have like subtitles. Um,
Right.
what are they? Okay, okay, okay. I can maybe say this. All
Okay.
right. Blinky is the Watcher with 1,000 eyes. Um, uh, that's what his title is. Tinky, the Bastard of Time and Space. Wiggly, the Lord in Black. Uh, there's Pocotho, the singular voice, and Nibble and Effin. I think it was the thing that feeds in the dark,
Oh, it
maybe,
is
or
kind of teeth food. Well, I mean, it's teeth.
yeah,
It's like obviously something that feeds in the dark. So
yeah. But
that reminds me of
I
Little Shop of
maybe
Horrors, which I know you guys are really into. A lot of you guys at StarKid.
I do like Little
So
Shop, but
was Nibley inspired based on that at all?
not really.
Okay, okay.
But
I'm picturing like now I'm picturing like everyone's version of Dirty Prince Day. It's like Little Shop of Horrors. They got it planned in the
no,
school.
no.
It's
Um,
okay, and that's fine. I'm just saying. I'm just kind of throwing weird
yeah,
scenarios out
all
there
we
just for fun.
yeah, again, things are in flux right now because
Yeah.
there are going to be certain. The pandemic really threw off the
Well,
trajectory of everything
yes, it did. It's
because
fine.
it blew up the world. But you
Right.
say, in terms of the Hatchetfield series, it blew up like exactly the order of events because originally Workin' Boys we were
Yeah.
supposed to make last summer, and
Right.
Workin' Boys would have come out, and we were going to do Nerdy Prudes Must Die last year,
Yeah.
uh, but that didn't happen. There is certain information that originally was going to be put into Workin' Boys that
Yeah.
now has been pulled out of Workin' Boys and put into some Nightmare Time
So
stories.
Working Boys has already been revised and all that.
Working
So
Boys
that
is
like
is is about a certain thing, so there are threads that have been pulled from it to be put into other things. It's just a lot of shuffling things around.
right.
And
Okay.
then Nerdy Prudes Must Die was supposed to be the reveal of certain information, but because of, again, the order of things happening,
Right.
now information is being revealed in a different way, in a different order. So you go like everything's in flux right now. So Nerdy Prudes is like kind of up in the air. Nerdy Prudes may become even obsolete
Oh
if
my goodness.
if we can't do it, within a certain amount of time, and we keep on doing other things like Nightmare Time, you go, these Nightmare Times might eventually eat all of the story threads that would have been in Nerdy Prudes Must Die. So you go like, all right, well, because we don't want to repeat ourselves with things, but
No.
we, so Nerdy Prudes is up in the air as
Is
of
that
right
like
now.
the plan for that to be the next musical StarKid does, regardless of whether it's a Hatchetfield one or not? Like, or would you do like, because if you weren't going to do Dirty Prince, you'd do one of your other ones, like the non-Hatchetfield ones. I think you said it was a musical back in part one. Some of the other stuff
I
you've been working on. I don't know. I
well,
don't know. There's a lot of information.
yeah, there. I don't. I don't have everything figured out. So it's like, and you know, eventually we want to get into doing some non-Hatchetfield projects. We don't know exactly what those are yet. We, maybe some projects that are not 100% headed up by the same people. So it's like this. The StarKid Christmas Carol was
Yeah.
kind of a different team. So it's things might get shuffled around. We'll
Yeah.
see what happens. For right now, all we can really commit to, because who knows how the vaccine rollout's going to go? Who knows what's going to happen with the pandemic? Really, all we can commit to right now is things that we can do from afar and separately,
Right.
and things like Nightmare Time. So, Nightmare Time is something that we are planning on continuing and actually doing, and saying, another round of Nightmare Times. And then you go like, Nightmare Times turned out to be a great thing for us because it makes sense because a lot of our viewership is online anyway. You go like, most people that watch a StarKid show do not see it live. They watch it when
Right.
it goes to YouTube. So you say our our base is a lot of a global base, people that are watching the stuff on YouTube, and we got a good amount of people to watch Nightmare Time, and
Oh, you did. That's
especially,
great. Okay.
yeah. So Nightmare Time was successful. We had a
Is
good
this in
time
terms of
doing it.
YouTube views or like buying tickets?
Buying tickets. In terms of buying the tickets, it turned out to be great for
Good.
everybody. So
That's
it was
awesome.
like, it was a nice success. So we want to do more of that, and it's opening the door to the idea of doing more projects that are in that vein, especially for the time being when production is limited.
Right.
So we're going to be kind of doing our focus on things that we can actually pull off for the time being. So, like another round of Nightmare Time stories. We'll see what happens with Workin' Boys. I would love to do that at some point in some capacity. I don't know exactly uh, how, but it's kind of like this lingering thing from a Kickstarter that's now 2 years old. So you
Well,
go,
I
we
mean,
would.
there's other people in like StarKid and stuff and other Kickstarters that have taken even longer to be fulfilled. So you're nowhere near the longest wait, and it's understandable. We understand why.
Yeah.
So
So
sorry, no shade,
I
not too much shade here. Um,
Yeah. So yeah. So, and I would love to get certain elements of the story of Hatchetfield out before other things happen. But, it's like more Nightmare Time stories. There are a bunch of them floating around, so we'll see what coalesces and things that happen. So
okay.
everything's a really nebulous, and it probably will be nebulous until we have the ability to be in rooms with other people again. Whenever we do our next live musical, we will have to do a Kickstarter campaign. You need to book a theater months in advance. Like
Right.
last year, we had we had a basic timeline for last year that included, doing another Kickstarter. We had a theater reserved. We had a theater in Los Angeles reserved for the fall,
Right.
and we ended up, it came to a point where we were like saying, are things going to be open in the fall? And they said, you need to put a deposit down. And we eventually said, I don't think that things are going to be better by the fall. This was like in the spring of
Right.
last year. And so then we let it go. And so we'll see what happens this year. We probably won't do anything live until next year at the earliest because we probably will not have time.
Like, yeah, let's
We
say like
won't
the
know.
pandemic like gets better in the summer, like you still have to book the thing, you have to do things.
Yeah, we
You wouldn't be
still
able to do
would.
till like next winter or spring at the earliest at that point. So,
Right. It's also like when we're working, we only have so much time. We're people with like limited brain capacity and limited time to write and,
right.
use our hands. So we can only do a certain amount of things in a year. So
Right.
if like theaters opened up, if magic, the it's gone. Everyth's back to
Don't get
normal.
me excited for fantasies.
You go if that happened, we probably we have to focus on making things that are in some way doable now. In with this being our reality of
Right.
saying we can now do things separately from different computers across the country. That's a miracle. We can, you and I are talking. You're in Canada. I'm here,
I mean, if it
and
had to happen, I guess it's kind of good that happened at a time. I mean, it happened 100 years ago when there was not all this, but like at a time
yeah,
when people could communicate. And it also allowed for stuff like Christmas VHS Christmas Carol with
yeah,
people who lived in like other cities besides LA. They could like
ab-
do it live because I know a lot of people were like missing seeing lots of people who live in other cities, like a lot of them are still in Chicago or wherever, and they are
mhm,
not in the musicals right now. So it was nice
exactly.
for people to be able to see them. So that was cool.
Absolutely. So that's good. That's a good thing, that's a silver lining.
Yeah,
Um
that's also why I want to do this interview because like I thought like because you guys are doing like theater so differently, you have to like figure out what you're going to do with your projects and stuff and while still being able to tell the stories you want to. So I wanted to kind of hear
yeah.
more about that and like
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
hear about how
StarKid's
that came together.
interesting because
Yeah,
we've
like the whole
we
company is like fascinating. Like I want like there to be like a book about it or like some sort of thing. Like there should
oh it'd
be.
be no, no.
Yes, there should be. It'd be awesome.
It's like, we can only exist because of the internet.
Right.
We our our entire model, how we've survived as a creative entity, has been through YouTube and sharing things online. So that is for a lot of ways we were incredibly lucky in that, and that gives us a little bit of an opportunity to, in these the dark times, to take advantage of the fact that we do have such a big online following. So I am very thankful for that. We definitely lucked out. So in certain ways.
Yeah. I think on that note, we're gonna try and wrap this up, but I did want
Okay.
to ask, is there anything else about season two that you can reveal? I mean, you've already told us given us quite a bit of insight into Hatchetfield lore in general in season two, or even
Right.
Working Boys or any project you might have coming up or hints at the non-Hatchetfield stuff you might do. I don't know. Just let's see if we can end on some juicy stuff.
On some juicy stuff.
Yeah.
I guess I'll talk about Hatchetfield.
Okay.
Let me think about what I can say about number two, about the second round of stories, which again have not been 100% planned
Right.
as of yet. But we have things floating around in our mind. Um, we'll see Emma again. We'll
Yay.
see. We'll see. All the big ones. All the big ones. You'll probably see back. We've
Well, we see
got
Linda Monroe. I feel like a lot of people want to know if we're going to see Linda Monroe.
I think maybe
Oh, people are going to be so happy to hear that.
we held off.
Yeah.
Actually, the this is a thing, okay? The very first Nightmare Time story that we wrote was Linda's. It
Oh,
was
people are going to be so mad you didn't put that out now. It's okay.
well,
I forgive
we're
you on behalf of everybody.
we're saving it because it's one of the
Oh,
ones that we wrote to be filmed. So, Linda is one of our faves.
she's
So
fun.
it's like she is the lead of this one story. And that's the first one that we wrote, and I think it might even still be my favorite one. Okay,
Wow.
okay, I can tell you about one that we're definitely not going to do,
Okay, go ahead.
because we threw this one out.
Okay.
Um, so okay, so people would have hated this episode, but there was this thing online where people were saying that we always kill Robert Manning characters. They go like, "Oh, they always kill Robert," which isn't true.
It's
Like,
weird. Yeah, they always kill Robert, and then Joey's always Ted in terms of Hatchetfield. But yeah, you killed Robert and Twisted too.
you go technically in Hatchetfield, all the characters die. You go like,
Yeah,
you
depends on
go
what universe. But yeah.
Yeah, you go, everybody died in Guy. Arguably, everybody dies in Black Friday. You go, everybody dies. But, and there have also been Robert characters that have not died. Um, so, but anyway, a lot of people were talking about Ethan. And they were talking
Oh yeah,
about
that guy too.
Ethan, and people love the Ethan character. And like, Ethan is a character that is designed to die in Act One.
You seem to really kind of hype him up before Black Friday though. Like I remember on one of the streams, you're like, "Oh yeah, he's Lex's boyfriend, whatever," and it was getting all exciting. Like I feel like you made him seem like a bigger deal than he ended up being. I don't know. That was
Well,
good. You threw people off.
you have to set up the character to die because
Yeah.
you have to get people to like the character so that when he dies, you're sad. You go like, oh, somebody just died. But you go like he's the
Yeah.
character that's designed to die at that point in the story. But people were like, Ethan, I don't want Ethan to die. I want Ethan to live. And there was some kind of people
Yeah.
saying like some kind of petition to say make so that they don't kill Robert Mannion and make it so that
Oh, I thought you meant
Ethan
like
doesn't
redo
die.
Black Friday and don't kill Ethan.
Oh yeah, and don't kill Ethan. People hate that Ethan died. So we wrote a story. We wrote a story that we won't ever do,
Okay, go ahead.
but we did write it. It was called Ethan Doesn't Die, and it was the story that people would have. Looking at it now, I think people would have hated it. But what happened in it was Ethan, Lex, and Hannah are running away, right? They're running away, and they steal money from Ethan's dad's garage. They steal money and they steal a car, and they're on their way out of Hatchetfield, and they pull into a motel for the night, and they are in this motel called it doesn't matter what it's called. They're in the motel, and the guy who works at the motel, this old man who runs the motel, like recognizes Lex because Lex, we kind of talk about Lex's mother, who's like this wayward, terrible mother,
Oh yeah,
and
she was awesome. I mean, like as a
she,
character.
she's fun, yeah, Pamela. So
Yeah.
Pamela, it talks about how when Lex was younger, Pam kind of moved around a lot, and for a while they stayed in the motel. So the old guy like recognizes Lex, and it's like, you actually don't remember, but you stayed here in this motel when you were a little girl, and so Lex kind of likes this old man. She's like, he's a nice old man, all this stuff. But Ethan is counting the money that they have to go survive in LA. And the funny thing about Lex and Ethan is that they are in no way prepared to go live in California. They want to live in Los Angeles, and they think that like $700 is or $7,000 is a lot of money and stuff. And you go like, that's actually not a super amount of money. So so Ethan's counting the money that they have stolen from his dad's garage, and he's going like, oh crap, we really don't have enough money to survive. And he's like getting really stressed and everything. And and Lex is like, "Hey, are we okay?" And Ethan's like, "Yeah, we're okay. Go to sleep, babe. Go to sleep." And so she goes to sleep. She's in the bed with Hannah, and they go to sleep. And Ethan goes, and he goes like, "I'm gonna steal money from this guy. I'm gonna break into the cash register and steal this guy's money." Because Ethan is like a rough and tumble kind of character. Like we see him kind of beat up a guy in Black Friday and all this stuff. He'll do anything to help Lex and Hannah, even steal. They're even in Black Friday. Their whole thing is they steal a Wiggly and they're trying to sell it. So he's gonna go steal this money, and then like Lex comes down and she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm gonna take this money, babe." And so then the old man calls the police because he's like, "Oh, I'm being robbed." And he comes out and he's like, "I've called the cops." And then Ethan, in a moment of panic, hits the guy on the back of the head with a crowbar, and the guy falls down and he's bleeding out the back of his head. And Lex is going, "Ethan, what did you do?" And he goes like, "I'm sorry, I panicked. I don't know." And then the cops show up, and Ethan goes like, "All right, Lex, I want you to stay here. This was all my idea. I'm the one that stole the money. I hit the guy on the head. I did this. I did that. I'll be back for you." And he gets into his car and he takes off. And then and Lex is like, "Ethan!" And the cops are chasing Ethan, and Ethan doesn't see a turn in this thing, and his car careens off a cliff, and it blows up. And so and then it goes, and Lex is at Ethan's funeral, right? And so remember the story's called Ethan Doesn't Die, and so then Lex is like, um Ethan got killed, and Lex is feeling terrible, and Ethan's dad like yells at Lex and goes like, "He was a good kid until he met you." And Lex because Lex has like a terrible reputation in town, because like Lex's mom has a terrible reputation and all this stuff, but Lex just wants to help her sister, and Lex loves Ethan and all this stuff. So Lex goes to the old man in the hospital, and she's like crying to him, and she's apologizing because he's okay. He's got a bump on his head, but he has to stay in the hospital because they're running tests and they find like all this stuff wrong with him. So he's staying in the hospital for a few weeks. And he goes like, "You know what? Can you watch the motel for me while I'm in the hospital?" And she goes like, "Okay, sure, yeah." So she's staying in the motel with Hannah. And Hannah finds like this book that the old man has that's a bird watching book, and Hannah like finds his binoculars, and she goes out and she's like bird watching, and she like finds this little area set up in the back with all these bird houses, and Hannah thinks it's the most magical place ever. She loves it. So Hannah's like kind of is like, "Lex, you know how we're like going to California?" And she goes, "Yeah, that's been the plan." And she's like, "What if we stayed here?" And so Hannah's like wants to stay and live in this motel, and Lex is like, maybe maybe, I don't know. And then like a few days later, this car comes, and it has this guy named Jake. It's a new guy. It's a new young hot guy who comes in and meets Lex. And sorry if this is so long. Let's shorten it. All right. So what happens is these two brothers come, and it's a guy named Jake and his little brother named Alfie. And Alfie is a strange little boy who does weird things, and he goes with Hannah into the back of the woods, and Hannah has a hummingbird that she likes, and they go and they find it, and the hummingbird is dead on the ground, and Hannah's sad, and Alfie goes, "Don't be sad, Hannah." And then he puts his hands on the hummingbird, and they glow, and then the hummingbird goes bzzz, and it comes back to life. And Alfie goes like, "You were sad that it was dead, so I made it so that it didn't die." And then Hannah's like, "You shouldn't do that, Alfie. Webby says you should never do that again." And then Alfie's going like, "Webby's stupid," or something like that. And so there's something wrong with Alfie. And Alfie ends up, they get into a fight, and Alfie pushes Hannah down a hill, and she falls into a river. And she's going down this river, and she's screaming. And then Lex and Jake have to come, and they have to save Hannah and all this stuff. And Hannah's fighting with Lex, and Hannah's going like, is saying how she hates Alfie, and she hates Jake because Jake is Alfie's brother. And she goes like, "Webby says that Alfie's bad." And then Lex goes, "Well, Webby's not real." And Hannah gets really sad. And then Hannah's crying, and she goes like, "I wish Ethan didn't die." And Alfie's listening through the door, and Alfie goes like, "Don't worry, Hannah, I'll make you happy." And then he goes to Ethan's grave, and he touches it, and he uses his powers, and he brings Ethan back from the dead. But it's kind of like Pet Sematary, to where when things come back, they come back wrong, and they come back evil. So Ethan comes back to life, but he's evil, and he's not only evil, but he can't die. And so then it's about Ethan kind of going on a rampage. And so we were like, we'll make it so Ethan doesn't die, but he's gonna be evil. And
So is Alfie a character that's gonna show up in another story? Is this like a character who?
No,
we're okay.
Alfie only existed to bring Ethan back from the dead, but we're not going to use that story. So,
Yeah,
but we
okay.
might use some of those elements in future
Like a
stories.
Pet Cemetery kind of thing. That might be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But there you go. That was way too
go.
long, but that was a little bit of a story that's some juice.
What you could do is I don't know, next Kickstarter, there's all this stuff you have lying around with StarKid like that hasn't really been released. Like I know there's like some versions of Trail to Oregon that I know were filmed that were never released, and I know there was like more of the Lord of the Rings thing. Like you could release maybe, I don't know how much you wrote of that script, but you like release a scene from that script if we get to like a certain
Ethan doesn't die.
Yeah,
we wrote the whole thing. We wrote the whole thing.
Stretch goal for the next Kickstarter. Make that a stretch goal. You get the script, or like if you pay this much, you get the script.
No,
really?
People will hate it. People will hate it. No, because it's upsetting.
But like, yeah, people do like content for an extra for the Kickstarter goals. So like that's something. Maybe you can make some of those.
If we raise $1 million on the next one, we'll release Ethan Doesn't Die.
You heard it here first. So that's gonna be it for this interview. Thank you very much to Nick Lang for coming and like talking for 2.5 hours. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you to Nick, and